Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football. We're presented by Rick Valvro and Austin Underground. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. I want to give a big thanks also to Duck Camp. This entire week for the college football playoff right here on Texas Football is brought to you by the good folks at Duck Camp. And speaking of Duck Camp, that's where Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton are this morning.
We're checking in. It's nice and chilly here in Austin this morning, in the mid-40s when we got going today. We're actually inside the store at Duck Camp, so we're nice, toasty, and warm. Good stuff here going on. They don't open this store until 10 o'clock, but we do have some donuts. If anybody stops by and wants to hang out for a little bit, we'll be here at least until about 10:30 or so this morning, hanging out, talking to folks, etc. So please stop by. If you've got a last-minute Christmas gift that you want to get going, make sure you check it out. Come into their retail headquarters store here at Duck Camp. It's off of East Cesar Chavez. We'll also be here tomorrow morning. So if you're coming in for the game as well, or if you just want to check out their retail headquarters, again, that's on East Cesar Chavez.
Yeah. We have some Clemson fans in the chat. Come by, see us, say hello, get something nice here before you,
the right color orange, by the way.
I mean, before you beat down Saturday. So come on in. Everybody's welcome at Duck Camp.
Well, speaking of Clemson and beatdowns, the game is a little under 55 hours away now, guys. The line, not a lot of movements there, but as we're just a little over 2 days from kickoff, what's your thoughts?
Boy, I tell you what, this is a game that will begin and end at quarterback for me. And I say that because I think we know Texas has a defense. I think we know that Texas has a veteran offensive line and veteran receivers to put around Quinn Ewers. But the more and more I think about this is a battle between two quarterbacks that know each other quite well, and Quinn Ewers versus Cade Klubnik, guys. And Klubnik, unlike Quinn Ewers, has been pretty stingy with the ball. Quinn Ewers has been a little bit turnover prone of late, and I think that could be a big issue for the Longhorns in this game, and ultimately may play a large role in deciding it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for me is Clemson's challenge in this game is going to be guard, center, guard on the offensive line. I think that they may have some issues with Texas on the interior of their offensive line. And if their center right guard don't play at a really high level, I think Cade's going to take hits in this game. And I know he's athletic, and I appreciate his talent, but there's some teams that have got after them up front on Clemson's offensive line. And that's the challenge for Clemson, I think, in this game. Can they establish any run game? Because against Pitt, against SMU, Moffa had 30 carries for 45 yards combined. And that's going to be their challenge, is if they can't establish a run game of any kind, then that puts a lot of pressure on that offensive line, especially guard, center, guard against Texas. I mean, obviously Colin Simmons, his edge quickness and what Texas has across the front, but they're really, I think, challenge guard, center, guard.
Hey, I gotta admit this. We have somebody came in, hang out a little bit. How you doing? Have a donut, hang out. Feel free. I tell you what's going on, Jerry, for me for this game a little bit as well is this is an intersectional game. Mm-hmm. So this is an SEC versus ACC game. Look, Clemson has been one of the teams outside of the power structure that is college football right now, which is focused primarily on the SEC and Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
Those two conferences have been the power struggle of the universe for college football. Notre Dame's tried to be in there a little bit. Texas tried to be in there a little bit. Oklahoma's tried to, but Clemson is one of those few teams that has broken through.
Yeah.
And they've done so because they have legitimate players.
Clemson's always been, Bobby, situated in a great spot geographically in recruiting. You have South Carolina, which is a high hit rate state on top players. North Carolina, Georgia, right to the west, Virginia. I mean, and Clemson has really taken advantage up the East Coast when Virginia Tech haven't been the programs they were years ago, right? Huddle ruined those programs in a lot of ways, especially Virginia Tech. So and then they can go to Florida. Because when Dabo got it going, he was in Southwest Florida, Tampa, I-4 corridor, battling Florida for guys, C.J. Spillers of the world, right? Sammy Watkins. So they're in a great spot from recruiting geography territory. Kirby getting to Georgia, I think, has hurt them a little bit. But the one thing we haven't talked about, by the way, with this game is we talked about the players a lot, and we've talked about the matchup, Clemson and Texas. But the one thing we haven't talked about, and I think because, look, I have my fun with Dabo because he hasn't gone to the portal till he realized, oh, my gosh, I have to, essentially, or somebody told him you have to if you want to keep your program, is he's been there and done that twice.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to get a team ready for a game like this. And they're a well-coached team. They're not as talented as they were when they won the titles, especially on defense, with the depth and 5 first-rounders on the defensive line. They have NFL players, but they have 5 first-rounders like they once had when they were seniors, juniors in their depth. But he knows how to get a team prepared for a game like this. And he's won games like this. So that's the one thing we don't talk about because we have fun with him with not using the portal, but he can go toe-to-toe with any coach in this playoff from a been there, done that, and getting a team prepared.
That's what I'm getting at. He's one of the ones that's broken through, right? I mean, not many programs have outside of the SEC and Big Ten, but he is one that has broken through and won it all. You mentioned recruiting, Jerry. There's some recruiting news going on right now for the University of Texas. Yesterday, Eric Singleton had finished his visit to the University of Texas. That's the Georgia Tech wide receiver. Then some picks went in for Auburn to receive a commitment from him. As of this morning, I do not believe he signed paperwork with anyone.
Right.
Texas still giving chase in that is my understanding and not out of it. Also, I'm being told as of this morning, Texas is expected, if something doesn't happen with Singleton, Texas expected to be involved with Zachariah Branch. That was the first time I've been told that, yes, there would be some interest there.
And Zion.
Zion, his brother, the defensive back that is more of a reserve at USC. But Zachariah Branch, look, in the portal, as we look at it, Jerry, and this is something we got to talk about, there is a type that Steve Sarkisian is looking for, and that is the jet.
Yeah.
They need someone that can light it up and take that bubble screen like Isaiah Bond did and go 50.
Yeah.
So if they don't have somebody that can press the edge like that, teams are going to gang up on the middle and maybe reduce some run plays on the inside. That's what it is. That's what Steve Sarkisian wants out of that position.
I think Oregon will be involved there as well with the Branch brothers. The key for me with Zachariah Branch, we have a discussion on ontexasfootball.com going about this after Bobby's post this morning is, people are like, well, his production hadn't been great. We're looking at it here. But I want to look at and say this. Say very similar production to Matthew Golden at Houston.
Yeah.
And now look at Matthew Golden at Texas. I mean, and I know USC and Houston aren't the same situations necessarily, but I will say this. USC this year had quarterback issues. And so they had a hard time getting guys to football. But he has almost, 1,900 yards combined in receiving, rushing, and return yards 2 years into college football. But if something happened there with Branch in Texas, I think you would see that production
amp
go
up.
up. But now the interesting thing about him coming out of high school, some people had him ranked top 10 in the country. I kind of, when he was coming out of high school, looking at him, I thought he was a not as explosive version of Jalen Waddle. And that not as explosive means, maybe you're a 4.45 instead of a 4.30.
Yeah.
And if you watch his highlights and if you've watched him in college, he's quicker than fast is what Branch is. Now, he catches ball hands extended. He is a really good player. He's not explosive fast like Isaiah Bond is, to where he just runs away from people after the catch. He's not like that.
Or Jaden Blue.
Yeah. I mean, so he's not, but he is a really good player. In short space, his short space quickness is tremendous. He can make multiple people miss after the catch, and he is really good in the return game. So Zion Branch, his brother, was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school in the country, out of Las Vegas. He's been injured first 3 years. He hadn't played a full season in college football. Still, so remains to be seen what level player he can become. He's got SEC size, but he doesn't really have the production because he hadn't played more than 10 games in a year since high school.
Yeah, look, I mean, we'll see exactly where this goes. I don't think, I mean, I know people are saying, oh, well, Eric Singleton, because of he's got a relationship with a coach on the staff at Auburn, by the way. One of his teammates or friends is going to Auburn as well. I as of yesterday, I don't think Texas had given up on that.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way. Some people are saying, oh, well, it's over. Let's see. Singleton still has to put pen to paper. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
That's one. Also, you know, we got to mention this, and this is the new day and age of college football. Diego Pavia yesterday, it is ruled by by courts that his time at a junior college in New Mexico does not count towards his eligibility in the NCAA. So he's been granted an additional year by the NCAA. He will actually be playing in Austin a year from now. That's the Vanderbilt quarterback. And there are thoughts now that this could change the way everybody looks at junior college. It could actually reinvigorate junior college football, Jerry, because now teams could go and stash
I was
a player.
going to say, that's crazy, Bobby.
Yeah, that now you have juniors and seniors in college football that are getting the NIL money, and you have some other guys that go to a smaller junior college and then kind of wait their time and then come up without losing any eligibility.
Yeah, I mean,
you see what I'm saying? So they can actually come in as freshmen, essentially, with 2 years of experience. And Antonio Harris, I hate that 25-year-old men playing college football. I will say this, though. Maybe it helps them academically. I mean, maybe there are more guys that end up with degrees instead of leaving in 2 or 3 years, right? They actually have some of their basic classes down. I mean, there's some positives in that, in my from my vantage point, because ultimately college football is different than the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, it is tied to a university, not just a football team.
All right, Ski Breck, anybody in the chat want to start a JUCO? Now would be the time. I'll go in with we could have a heck of a team now. We could play maybe facility wise. I mean, yeah, the JUCO that comes with the great facilities is now going to have a chance, right? I mean, but that's interesting because that reopens junior college football.
Theoretically.
Yeah. What about a state where you can make NIL money, right? So it might be time to start a JUCO somewhere in Florida for football.
Yeah, we'll see.
Somebody's going to try.
Yeah,
probably IMG.
IMG already is a JUCO.
IMG, and then they'll go to the IMG JUCO program. Mm-hmm. I'm giving IMG ideas here.
Wait, one more thing happened in recruiting before we go to our ad read. Dallas Wilson, the wide receiver out of Tampa that Texas tinkered with, or actually recruited pretty hard at one point in time. He signed with Oregon. Texas had made a run at him. Florida had made a run at him. He now is asking out of his letter of intent to Oregon and will apparently sign with Florida. This is another letter. I say letter of intent. It's actually a scholarship paper. Another indication, Jerry, that it's just the signatures these guys are making aren't being
but here
aren't worth the paper they're printed on.
But that gets into the new kind of what it's supposed to be. Once you sign your NIL deal, you're supposed to be stop being recruited by schools.
Yeah.
Dallas Wilson didn't just wake up and say, you know what, I'm having second thoughts.
Yep.
So I guess that process isn't going to stop them, Bobby. You're still going to be recruited after you sign.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I feel like the inmates are running the asylum right now. That's ultimately the problem. And I'm not talking, the players aren't the inmates, by the way.
Right.
It's the agents.
Yeah.
It's not the coach. I mean, it's not the coaches running it. It's not the players. It's actually the agents that are running the asylum. That's the problem.
Yeah. And people are referencing DeAndre Robinson. There's the difference for me, though. His position coach left. This is not a coach leaving situation. This just, you know what? I decided I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
different situation.
Okay, Bobby, will you let everyone out?
Then I agree. Go ahead.
Will you let everyone know about Rick Vavro and Austin Underground?
Yeah, absolutely. Since 2004, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations with a team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider just too risky. Rick and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. By the way, Rick has a new business up and running called the Lone Star Bar out in Jonestown, Texas. If you're ever out that way and want to stop by for a cold one, make sure you talk to Rick and his team out there. They're welcome to have you. Again, Lone Star Bar out in Jonestown.
Okay, guys, and I want to read this super chat here real quick. This one from Kyle, who's been a longtime viewer of Coffee and Football. He says, OTF is the best for all Longhorn sports. Today's my 30th birthday, and all I want is a win on Saturday.
Hook 'em,
Happy
Kyle.
birthday.
Congratulations, buddy.
By the way, if you're coming to the game, all the college football playoff gear, all your Texas college football playoff gear is now in Co-op Fanatic store. I was in there yesterday. So when you come to the game, if you're looking for the CFP gear, it is all stocked up now in Austin.
Well, I want to go back to recruiting here for a moment. I guess more of a signee at this point here. But Jerry, yesterday you had a great conversation with KJ Lacy.
Yeah.
Tell us about it a little bit.
KJ, unbelievable kid, man. I mean, I've been lucky to kind of get to know him through this process. I've really enjoyed it. And we brought him on Longhorn livestream last night. And I told him it's the last time we'll do this because you're about to move to Austin January 13th. He's playing in the Under Armour game first. But, you know, moving into Austin on January 12th, 13th. And then, you know, it's off his next part of his career begins. So, but he's awesome kid, man. I mean, really a professional kid, great mind. You're watching here the first 3 game highlights. He talked with us about 15, 20 minutes and talked about Jeff Kelly, his head coach at Saraland, and how there's a lot of stuff that they ran were from Sark's offense. So there's a real familiarity there. He talked about his work with David Morris of QB Country, who Arch Manning's worked with since 3rd grade. David Morris is a really close friend of the Manning family. And so KJ's been working there. He's actually had a session with him yesterday with Deuce Knight, obviously the quarterback going to Auburn. So they all work out together there at David Morris's facility. But, you know, anybody that didn't see it, watch the Longhorn live stream. We need to look at the KJ dunking Instagram. I don't know if you can bring that up, Blake Monroe, but there's a video on his Instagram. It's the second video of him dunking a basketball. It's very impressive in slides. I don't know if we can bring that up later, but KJ Lacy, Bobby, great kid, great head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be a very good representative of the University of Texas. He's a talented kid. He's a playmaker. I wanted to show that video. We opened with that video last night so people could see how athletic he truly is, because I think because you play in the pocket and you just kind of keep plays alive because your arm 1, 2, 3, 4 before you have to run. People say, how athletic is he? This kid's really athletic. He just hides it because he's a quarterback. He doesn't use it unless he absolutely has to.
Well, I think that's kind of what you saw in that Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game where he was named the MVP. You saw him do some things outside. He was forced outside the pocket, maybe more than he is in high school football. And you saw him do that. I will say this. I was at a dinner last night, so I couldn't watch the live stream, and I didn't get a chance to watch it this morning. I will say this. I got 2 texts from different people personally that said, wow, guys, going to be a great representative. Great kid, overall, just from the Q&A you guys had with him on air last night.
I thought this season was actually a good thing for him. I'm big on quarterbacks that have to play under duress in high school, that aren't just first read guys and clean pockets and always on the best team. I like the guys. We have the video coming up. Whenever you want to run that, Blake, I like guys that have to play under duress. This is him in slides. All right, so he's 5'11". I mean, that's an impressive athlete. So he's in that 39-40 vertical range, is what he is. So he is a big time athlete that plays the quarterback position. A lot of vertical ability. His dad was a tremendous basketball player. But back to KJ as a quarterback, I like that he had to play under duress this year. They had 4 or 5 new offensive line starters. They weren't as experienced of a team. Ryan Williams graduated early. He had a receiver that's going to Ole Miss that's a really good player, a D1 running back that's a good player. And they've got good players at Saraland, but they were young on the offensive line, and that forced him to play under duress a lot of the season. And I actually think that benefits quarterbacks in high school. I think the worst thing for a high school quarterback sometimes is to play on the very best team. You throw your first read 90% of the times, and you never really play under duress. I'm not sure that helps these guys long term. I've seen some of those guys really struggle with the move to college football. It takes them longer to learn to play under duress and react within their peripheral and things when I call it the walls are closing. But KJ's got a lot. He got a lot of that this year because of his young offensive line and still led that team to the state semifinals. Speaking of state finals.
Yes, Blake, who won the state championships yesterday in 6-man and 1A?
Yeah, so we need to give a couple, or I guess a few congratulations. Jayton defeated Oakwood. Mercy ruled them 45-0. Gordon did the same against Whiteface with the 45 there. And then Munster and Shiner in a great game last night, close to the very end, but Munster ends up winning by a touchdown. So congratulations to Munster, Gordon, and Jayton on a 2024 Texas High School Football State Championship. Of course, today, guys, we got some good games as well. That starts at 11 o'clock there at Jerry World. Stanford and Ganado, Gunner and Woodville. It will be after that at 3, and then Malakoff versus Columbus at 7.
Yeah, that night game has the Schobel family's game. Schobel's restaurant will be closed in Columbus. The only time it's ever closed is on state championship day. But obviously, Matt Schobel, the head coach there, I believe. All the Schobels came through there, played in the NFL, TCU, and in the NFL. One of the sons, I think Matt's son's the quarterback. And then the other linebacker, the other brother, the Schobel brother, his son's a linebacker, and I think he's a really good player. Then they obviously have one of the best 6-man players ever that moved down there this year that will go to Wyoming and play football and basketball, which has given them, I think, a chance to win state today.
If you've ever driven from Houston to Austin via I-10 and up 71, you know exactly where Schobel's restaurant is.
Yes.
It's right there on the right-hand side on I-10, just coming out of Columbus. It's a landmark of sorts and has been for a long, long time.
Dude, Kevin C. Alexander, let's go Woodville Eagles. That's the first let's go Woodville in the history of on Texas football. So, hey, sophomore quarterback, really good player. They have a senior kid that I'm sure will go a portal up one day. Really good player that's not highly recruited, but Woodville's got some. They got some talent, man. I mean, Silsby can't have everybody. I mean, down there, Silsby can't have everybody. So Woodville has a chance today because I think, like you said, one of Gunner's best players is out.
If anybody wants to know what Schobel's is like, it's like a K-Bob's.
Yeah.
without that super salad bar. That's what exactly what it's like. Got a lot of cobbler there.
Yeah.
All you could eat.
Sarah McCoy, what can we expect from North Crowley Westlake?
Ooh.
Maybe arguably 2 of the best defensive coaches in the state that are now head coaches. Coach Salazar is a longtime DC of Todd Dodge on those great Westlake teams. Ray Gates was a DC at a number of schools. He's from Shiner, by the way, who had a tough loss last night. But Ray Gates does a great job defensively at the high school level, and now head coach. So it's very rare nowadays in spread football at that level that we have 2 of the best defensive coordinators, longtime D coordinators who are now head coaches at this level. So they're both really good coaches. I think you're going to see a high execution rate type of game. I think obviously North Crowley has a lot more power for talent, right? I mean, that's the thing with this game. They have the Westlake teams, the Klubnik, Connor Robertson, Ethan Burke, Vosick. Westlake probably isn't as talented as that team. And I would probably say Salazar, we're not as individually talented as those teams because those are probably the best Westlake team I ever saw. But they play. They're almost like the Texas defense. They play as a unit extremely well. They play as a team extremely well. And the young quarterback's a good player for them. So they have players. Don't get me wrong. Maybe just not as high many highly ranked guys, recruited guys as that Westlake team that beat Southlake, that I thought was the best Westlake teams I've seen. North Crowley, Westlake's going to have to deal with the speed. They're going to have to close angles against North Crowley because this will be the fastest group of guys they've played this year. And because North Shore's good. Like I was at North Shore a couple of weeks ago. North Shore's still good, but North Shore isn't – people that saw it last year against Duncanville, North Shore maybe doesn't have the talent level they once had. They got some good young kids coming up, but they may not be as talented as they once were. They just have a great program over there. And those kids work hard for that staff and they get everything out of those kids at North Shore. North Crowley's got real speed. Like I've been over there 2 years running now because of Jonathan Cunningham, Turntine, all these guys. They have real speed in a lot of places. They have a number of guys that are 10-5, 6, 7 guys if they run track in the spring. This is a different type of angle to close, and it'll be interesting to see, does it take Westlake time to adjust to their speed in this game? Does North Crowley hit them early in this game? That's kind of what I'm going to be watching for. Of course, that'll be Saturday. Friday, we start off Friday with big game. Scott Surratt seeking his 10th state title. I've mentioned that all week. I just think that's an unbelievable thing that Scott Surratt has in front of him. That would be 10 state titles in, I believe, 18 years at Carthage or 19 years. That's just unbelievable when you think about it. That he has a chance to win 10 state titles, and his son's a junior, and KJ Edwards is a junior. So he's got a chance to, I think, set a record that will probably never be broken, winning that many state titles at the same school in Texas. But and then you have Kilgore going at it. So it's kind of East Texas Day Friday, I think, at the state championships. And then Saturday is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. Man, Saturday you got the college football playoff, the Texas high school football state championships, and 2 NFL games.
Yes.
That's my kind of December. And the Longhorns are involved. Let's add that to it too. You know, I think that's part of it. For us. A couple other portal notes that we talked through some. We did not mention that OU got their future quarterback, John Mateer, a young man out of Texas originally, went up to Washington State, is the number 1 ranked overall player in the portal, has announced that he's committed to Oklahoma. So he will be their quarterback for the Longhorns come October in the Cotton Bowl when Texas plays them. What do you make of that, Jerry?
You know, I think he's a good player. I don't think they got, Heisman candidate here. But I think it's a good player. And the main thing is, I look at it a lot like Pavia going to Vanderbilt with the offensive staff that he was familiar with. It's very similar to that. And it was good they kept him from going to Miami now, because that would have been a bad loss. I saw Mateer in high school because I went to Little Elm to see Terrence Brooks his senior year, and Mateer was over there. And Mateer's he's done great things with his frame, his physique, his body. He's really developed. So you can tell that guy works really hard. And I think he's a really high-end competitor for them, and he's going to bring something to that program. My question with that is, are you going to have the pieces to put around it? I mean, that's what they're going to have to figure out in the portal, Bobby. I think they have a couple of good backs. And I say this about everybody, assuming everybody stays through the spring, because there's another portal window, assuming they all stay. But what are they going to have on the offensive line? Are they going to be young and experienced on the offensive line in spots? Are they going to get the wide receivers to put around him to help him maximize his talent and maximize the season? Because if not, I mean, he's going to be playing for a different coach.
Well, I think that the one that caught my eye, Eric Morris, the former offense coordinator at Washington State 2 years ago, now the head coach at North Texas, said that he reminded him a little bit of Baker Mayfield, which is interesting. Undersized, relatively undersized, but kind of a hard-nosed player. Yeah. If he's that good, that's going to be a difference maker. If he's not, we shall see. Yeah. He did not exactly perform well against Power 4 conference teams this year. I think against Power 4 conference teams, he hit something like 49%. So we'll see if he actually is that good. But, the Sooners didn't go empty-handed in the portal at quarterback, which was something that was entirely possible 24 hours ago, to be frank. So there's also that to consider as well. All right, hey, we got to say thank you to one of our key sponsors, and it just so happens we're here now live at Duck Camp, their retail headquarters here on East Cesar Chavez in Austin. You can see the great gear behind us, camo gear, or can you see the camo? Jerry's got this great jacket on.
You can see the camo.
Hey, if you're looking for last-minute gifts for Christmas and want to come in to see it today at Duck Camp or tomorrow, we'll be here both days. We've got some donuts for people that come in. Already had one gentleman come in and say hello to us. We appreciate that. You guys feel free to come on out at any time today. Duckcamp.com. You can also go there to get their gear. It's made for the people that live for the moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, football to watch. They like doing all that stuff. So they built a company centered on it, based in Austin, and dedicated to giving people the best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel out there. Duck Camp's been tested from the backcountry of Alaska to the Dove Fields of Texas, and they're ready to keep you cool, comfortable, warm on these cooler days. Excuse me. I got that backwards here. But look, they've got all kinds of different gears. They've got iconic game series hats like the one I'm wearing right now. Timeless as the hats found in your grandpa's garage. Be sure to check it out. The new mallard hat and pointer hat in the clay colorway, pretty much our cherished burnt orange color. That's what Jerry and I are wearing right now, the clay colorway. Here's to great seasons, y'all. Yes, hunting and football. Shop hunting gear at duckcamp.com. And thank you to them for allowing us to be here this morning, as well as their sponsorship of college football playoff week this week.
And also want to give a big thank you to future fans as well. Longhorn Nation, experiencing a deep playoff run is like nothing else in this world. It's a shared experience with family, friends, and strangers, anticipating the next matchup and living and dying on every play when game day finally arrives. You can create memories that will last a lifetime. And for the first time ever, that experience is finally here for college football fans with the 12-team playoff, and it starts Saturday for Texas fans at home against Clemson. And if you have young kids, then you know there's one thing you need to make sure they get to experience the magic of that playoff run, and that's future fans football. Trust me, this is going to be the best $50 that you're going to spend. Future Fans helps little kids become big football fans by embedding the rules of football into parallel games and activities in a way that is absolutely genius. You see my son Kai right there. He loves it. Really going to get after it this weekend with Future Fans. So seriously, just go to Future Fans right now to see what I mean. That's futurefans.com, and let the little ones in your life experience the magic of this playoff run right side along you. All right, guys. Well, we got a lot more to talk about this morning, but first I want to read another super chat from another longtime viewer, Jack. Our good buddy Jack, he said, I played my first year of baseball at a JUCO. You think Sloss would take me? I'm only 73. I'll put in a good word for you, Jack.
He throws 73 or he is 70. I think either answer's no.
Oh, man.
It'd have to get enough ball going 73.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, one question that we've gotten a lot today is about the uniforms for the college football playoff when it comes to Texas. And people want to know, are they wearing orange or white? Bobby, I don't know if you have an answer for that, but I did notice that Texas put this up on their social media. So I'm going to assume that's the jersey for Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't know that Texas gets a choice. Yeah. Home games, they have to do that. Now, for SEC championship, I think you get to choose if you're the higher seed. I don't think the college football playoff is going to allow that. They actually mandate what you do and don't wear. But look, I would love to see Texas in the icy whites, but they lost last week, or 2 weeks ago. Let's go back to orange. Texas, I don't know how much this matters to me. I saw some gear, by the way, that Sark was wearing on Monday with that college football playoff logo. They're going to be wearing that all off season, just to kind of hang it over the faces of some folks that didn't get that kind of gear.
Now, by the way, so got to get through this game. But if Texas wins, it's icy whites again in Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yep.
Because Arizona State's the home team is the higher seed.
Yep, absolutely.
That's interesting.
Let's see how it goes.
By the way, for Jack Lawlott, for his super chat, you know what that made me think of? Harris from Major League on the mound, the old guy throwing Vaseline balls, as Bob Uecker said. It looked like the ball is like going 50 miles an hour to home plate, and Cleet Haywood was spit and chew and hitting it 500 feet.
Oh, God.
I don't know why that's what made me think of that movie.
I love it, dude.
That's a classic.
Yes.
Movie.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get some more good juju going here for the show. We got more to talk about. And let's take a look at the college football playoff slate which starts tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, Notre Dame hosts Indiana. This is actually the lowest line of any. Thank you very much. The lowest line of any game is tomorrow, Notre Dame over Indiana. It is a home game for the Fighting Irish, and it is one of those games where I think is an intersectional game of sorts, right? Or actually not intrasectional. So both teams from the state of Indiana. I just think that Notre Dame is really well made for the playoffs if they get by Indiana, because Indiana's a high-powered offense. So if Marcus Freeman can handle that, I just feel like they may walk into a Georgia team that I think that is eminently winnable game for them.
What'll be so interesting if Notre Dame plays Georgia, because Notre Dame, I think, is 10th in the nation in rushing 225 yards a game. Can they do that against Georgia? Because that's really where that game is going to come down to. If they get by Indiana and play Georgia, which we'll talk about next week. Hey, what's our weather? Is there anywhere that shows the updated temperatures, degrees for those games? Are we go?
You would have that right after I closed it.
Yeah, let's look at this first. So the winner of Indiana Notre Dame plays Georgia.
Yeah.
The winner of SMU Penn State plays Boise State.
Yeah.
All right. Tennessee Ohio State winner plays Oregon. That's the Ryan Day save my job bracket. Then the winner of Texas versus Clemson plays Arizona State. That would get you, the winner of those gets you into the semifinals. That is, if you're choosing your semifinal picks right now, what do they look like to you, Jerry? My semifinal picks, if I had to do it right now, I'll give you mine first.
Yeah.
I would go Oregon in the top half of that bracket. I'd go Texas in the bottom half of that bracket.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Notre Dame over Georgia. As long as they have to play Gunnar Stockton, I think he was good for a one game kind of fill in, but there's a reason he wasn't starting at Georgia over Carson Beck. And then the bottom half of that draw, I'm going Penn State. So I think it'll be Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State.
Yeah. So I have Oregon, Texas, Georgia, Penn State.
So you still think Georgia, even with Gunnar Stockton?
I do. I just think it's a talent advantage. I think they've recruited the number 1 or 2 class for 7-8 years in a row. And I think they're going to tell Notre Dame, you're not running the ball. Riley Leonard, go beat us. And I think they're going to be able to do that. And I don't think Notre Dame's faced a team like Georgia. So it's going to hit them in the mouth in that game.
So Notre Dame has an offensive line similar to Texas. They've got a young freshman, I think, at left tackle.
Because they lost their starter before.
Right. But they've got an offensive line as talented as Texas, typically. I mean, I don't know if they have a Kelvin Banks or a Cameron Williams, but they've got a good offensive line. That's what they're known for. The thing that they have that Texas doesn't have is that back that can pound you a little bit.
Yeah.
Trey Wisner is a darting runner.
Yeah.
Right. Jeremiah Love is a downhill guy that can also dart.
Yeah.
So I'll to your point, it'll be interesting whether or not Notre Dame's run game.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle.
Well, they probably will struggle, but it still will be more healthy than Texas.
Yeah.
I would bet that it's more healthy than Texas because of the style of running back they have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I tend to go with the talent in these games.
Yep.
I could see Notre Dame having some level of success, but I just don't. it's just crazy. Like 3-4 weeks ago, people were saying Notre Dame shouldn't be in the playoff. And it's just wild how many people are picking Notre Dame now to beat Georgia. And Notre Dame hadn't played anybody like Georgia is their problem. Like Texas, if Texas goes up against an Oregon, they've played, it's different teams, but they've played against the athleticism Georgia has. I mean, like Notre Dame hasn't played anything like Georgia. So it'll be interesting to see.
Early in the year, A&M, and A&M proved to be a facade.
Yeah, I mean, so they haven't played against the talent, a team this talented. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that. And Georgia gets preparing for Notre Dame for 3 weeks and getting Gunnar Stockton ready. I think that game will be fine with Gunnar Stockton. I think it's the next game that's going to be tough at Penn State, tougher for Georgia is Penn State. And I think these games could go either way. Don't get me wrong, in playoff games. But I think the Gunnar Stockton being the quarterback, they have 20 days to get him ready for game 1. Then they don't have much time at all to get him ready for game 2.
There's some legitimate that's legitimate. I would tell you that Notre Dame is also, I think they're well equipped to stop the run.
Yeah.
And that's what Georgia's going to have to lean on.
Yeah.
Because Gunnar Stockton's just not going to throw the ball down the field.
It's crazy. The one thing we talked about this season, you never know what's going to happen, all right? But we said, what if Georgia and Texas met 3 times? Remember he joked about that before the season? Yep. I mean, we're now 3 games away from them playing a 3rd time, and it would be crazy. It would be like that college basketball scenario, where
NC State,
Duke and Carolina played each other. Duke won both in the regular season. They have to play in a Final Four, Elite Eight, or national championship game. I mean, it would be. I would love to see it personally.
Wow,
but there's a lot that
I'm taking Boise to beat Penn State.
Wow.
Me too.
You too? Really, Blake?
Yep.
What were your 4? What were your 4 in this?
So I got Georgia, Boise coming on that side, and then Oregon and Texas on the other side.
By the way, we need to mention this because this feeds into this playoff discussion. Sarah McCoy, what's the Isaiah Bonds health status? Sarkisian meets with the media.
11 o'clock.
11 a.m. So we're interested to see what he says there about Isaiah Bond, Kelvin Banks, how they've progressed through the week. Obviously, Kelvin Banks better chance than Isaiah Bond right now.
Yes. Well, Kelvin Banks is going to play.
Yeah, he's going to
get there's no 2 ways about that. I saw him at practice on Monday. Isaiah Bond's touch and go is what my understanding, and we'll see what Sark, if he says anything. Because the other thing is they don't have to say anything. He could say, game time decision, and just leave it at that. This is not the SEC anymore where he has to give weekly injury reports that are somewhat, are very honest, to be honest. To be fair, I mean, that's what they are. They've been honest all year from Sark, in my opinion.
Jackson S. Super Chat. Boise State's defense is legit. They have good pass rush, guys. That's for sure. Can they stand up physically against Penn State? That'll be interesting. Penn State's coming off 520 yards against Oregon. And with 2 NFL running backs.
Blake goes, they also have James Franklin.
They do.
Checkmate. Jerry Jack Link.
So James Franklin is good when he has a superior physical advantage.
Yeah.
When he doesn't have that, it's no bueno. That's where he gets flummoxed. And I want to say this: Mac Brown had that issue.
Yeah.
At times at Texas until he kind of broke through with Vince Young. And when he broke through with Vince Young, then it was from then on, he didn't have another problem. Maybe James Franklin is just at that point in his career where can he ever break through?
Yeah. Maybe he finally has the quarterback to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happened with Mac, right?
Yeah.
He had the quarterback to do it.
He's 3-17 against top 10 teams.
By the way, Tennessee hasn't won a road game against the top 10 ranked opponent in the last, is it 21 tries?
Whew. Really?
Is that what I saw? There's a crazy stat out there on that.
See, tell me that stat again, Jerry.
Last time Tennessee won a road game against a top 10 ranked team. I'm pretty sure I saw or heard something on the radio driving to Austin yesterday, or saw it on social media. It's a bigger number than you would think for the Tennessee program.
Do you take
19 seasons? Yeah, Tennessee hasn't beaten a top 10 team on the road in 19 seasons.
Woo! That's not one you thought you'd hear.
Phil Fulmer lost all his hair learning that. The question that I have on y'all, what about Tennessee, Ohio State? We mentioned Notre Dame, Indiana, talked a little bit about that. But what about the Vols versus the Buckeyes?
I think the Vols are James Franklin until they win it, right?
Well, you think Josh Heupel hasn't won a big one?
Well, no,
he's beaten
Tennessee
Alabama.
hadn't won on the road against a top 10 team in 19 years. I mean, that's a long time. So right now they're James Franklin. They got to go win the big game on the road, right? I think the interesting thing on this game will be if Ohio State takes away or slows down the Tennessee run game, if they make Nico beat them, can Nico actually beat them? I would bet no, because he's been too inconsistent for me.
Here's the question I have. If Ohio State can't run the ball, can they move the ball? Because, who was it? I think it was Joel Klatt or Greg McElroy. I can't remember who it was. They were talking about how Kyle McCord, they didn't trade up.
Right.
When they lost Kyle McCord to Syracuse and took Will Howard.
No doubt.
Everybody thought they were, I guess, Ohio
Tom
State
Luginbill
fans.
mentioned it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was Tom. That's who we were talking to. And they didn't trade up. They thought they were getting a better player. And if Rod Babers calls him, what are you going to get? Are you going to get Will the Thrill Howard? And that guy that can throw the ball all over the yard, make some runs? Or are you going to get Will Spill the Pill Howard and a guy that turnovers left and right? And that's a good question. Tennessee has an excellent defense.
Yes.
If Ohio State slices up that Tennessee defense, Ohio State might be ready to make a run, and maybe they are the team that takes down Oregon in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think Tennessee can take down Oregon. I don't think they match up well at all against Oregon.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Tennessee, Ohio State's going to be a very interesting game because it's the same for both of those. Who can take away the run? I mean, it's almost a mirror game in a way. And then what quarterback's athletic enough to make plays? Nico's athletic. Howard's an athletic guy. It's almost a mirror image game and how they're going to have to win the football game. And that's not the same when you for a lot of these games. But that one is truly kind of an old school. Who's going to stop the run? Whose quarterback's going to handle playing under duress and make enough plays? That's the type of game this is going to come down. And there's a lot of people in the chat picking Tennessee. I think Tennessee's the better team. I think Tennessee got hosed. They should be hosting this game.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm not sure if it's my connection or Bobby and Jerry's connection, but let's see what happens here. I think welcome to the Blake Show, everyone. We'll see. Let's see here. I guess it is their connection. I really thought it was me. Okay. Well, guys, that's too funny. We can talk baseball. We can talk whatever y'all want until they get back, apparently. And while we're waiting on them, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know about the good folks at Factor. And let's see here, guys. Notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do list aren't. Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Don't let the shorter days of winter slow you down. Let Factor take shopping, prepping, cooking, and cleaning up off your daily list of things to do. Factor has something for everybody. Find guilt-free comfort foods like home-style chicken and gravy and loaded mashed potato pork chops. Feel-good vegan options like sweet potato and chickpea curry. Jerry Hamilton's back, and globally inspired flavors like Peruvian shrimp and red pepper collie grits. The variety they offer is unmatched. I eat something new every single day for lunch, sometimes for dinner too. It's good, it's quick, it's easy, it's absolutely delicious. And as usual, this morning I woke up, had one of their wellness shots to get my day started. Apparently the guy's internet connection should have had one of those shots as well. But you can't go wrong with whatever you pick at Factor. So get started today. Head to factormeals.com/50Texas and use promo code 50Texas to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50Texas at factormeals.com/50Texas to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is still active. Welcome back, guys. It was about to be the
I gotta follow up with a read after that. Look, you want to know how good the Manscaped 5.0 is? I just actually pulled it out for the read, and it was so powerful and good it cut our internet. Yes, there you go, right, guys? It's the Beard and Balls bundle, baby. All right, fellas, holiday season is here, and trust me, you don't want to be the guy showing up with tangled tinsel in your ornaments. Man, that doesn't sound good ever in life. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped have got you covered from head to, well, down the chimney. You know what I'm talking about. The Beard and Balls bundle featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger. This bundle will make sure you're a gift worth unwrapping. Get ready for those mistletoe moments and get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. Let's just be real. The 5.0 cuts through the North Pole of bushes with ease. Gentle on your most delicate Christmas ornaments. Boy, how important is that? Whew, nothing sounds worse than that. Again, join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to stay sharp this holiday season. Get the Beard and Balls bundle today and slay your grooming routine. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com, because Santa isn't the only one who needs his sack well groomed this year. And for Oklahoma fans who now have hope, hey, if not the 5.0, you get the handyman. You still need help, all right? You just got a quarterback. He ain't got anybody to throw the ball to, so you might still get Manscaped this season. You better get some receivers.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Well, I'm glad y'all are back. Hello, let's fix this here. Let me unmute you, Bobby, because I hadn't muted you when you came in. My apologies. But yes, welcome back. It was about to be the Blake Monroe Baseball Hour. I was cracking up at all the comments. I really thought it was me. And so I was like, so I am glad that both of you are back, though.
And we just had a little power surge. We had a little power surge.
Telling you, that's how good the Manscaped 5.0 is. I just pulled it out for the read, man. Dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what you need. Tinsel in your ornament, I guess, is don't you get it tangled. Hey, Blake, what else we have this morning? We're talking a little Longhorn football, a little recruiting. Basketball team plays tonight, Jerry, right?
Against New Orleans. I had an injury update on TexasFootball.com Wednesday. Jason Kent, who's been out with the wrist injury. I think he suffered that against Mississippi Valley State on an awkward fall. There was some thought he might be out till mid-January. That's not going to happen. He could play tonight. I don't know if Texas released anything. He could play tonight, or they could hold him out until the after Christmas game, the one more warm-up Northwestern State before the SEC gauntlet begins, which is, boy, if you haven't looked at that schedule, look at the first 5 games and pray. And then Trey Johnson will not play tonight. Not a major injury, minor injury, but they're playing New Orleans, who's 2-7, not a good team. It gives Jordan Pope, some of those other guys, some time to kind of get more time, run the offense for RT and Frank Haith and those guys. So Trey Johnson will be out. He'll probably play after Christmas as well. They'll give those guys at least one game before SEC play. If you haven't looked at that SEC basketball schedule, the first 5 games are at A&M, Tennessee, Auburn, at Florida, and I forget the 5th one, but it may be 5 teams who are ranked top 10 by the time those games happen. Texas could play 5 top 10 ranked teams in a row to start SEC play.
Women's basketball program, I went to that game on Tuesday. They're the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, the SEC is a juggernaut in women's basketball. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Hey, by the way, for the chat, I forgot to ask y'all at the beginning. What are you guys' predictions for Texas Clemson? Some of y'all are giving scores. What are y'all's scores right now? I'm interested to see where people are at, because we're at Thursday now. We're 55 hours away, as Blake said, maybe about 54 now.
Yeah. The question, Mike G put it up here. Just look at this score. I'm feeling really good about Texas's chances, but then he puts in a score of 17-13. Here's the issue that we get to, Jerry. Even when they're moving the ball of late, whether that's against Arkansas or A&M, they're not scoring much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big piece here. I mean, And I know some people are saying 35 and 40. When is Texas? I mean, Texas scored 31 against Kentucky.
I'm 34-20.
So you think they're going to score that many points? And I can't.
Here's why.
I just can't get there.
Here's why I do. Because there's a couple of things I think in this game for Texas. And now they need to get off to a good start. They did it. People say, "Oh, you need to every game," but there's some games you really do need to get off to good. You didn't have to get off to a great offensive start against Oklahoma because they can't score. So you just had to hang around, and then and there's some games you can just hang around early. This isn't one of those games. You need to take away the upset-minded team's hope early in this game. At least put their back against the wall. Say, man, these guys are better than what they looked on tape. Some of that needs to happen. But I go back to this. Against Georgia, Pittsburgh, Louisville, SMU, and South Carolina, Clemson gave up, on average, 429 yards a game. And they struggled to run the ball in those games offensively, with the exception of Louisville, who everybody ran on Louisville. And then CJ Vogel had a great stat that Clemson's one of the worst fourth-quarter defenses in the country. And I think that's because, Bobby, you talked about they don't have the depth because Dabo went portal dumb for so many years. They're young on defense, and they don't have the depth they should have in the program that won 2 national championships. This program shouldn't be where they're at depth-wise. It's because Dabo was hard-headed about the portal. I think there's some things that are in Texas' favor to score the ball offensively in this game because people have scored on them this year.
So I still think Texas is going to score 20-24. I could be wrong. They could go 31. I don't think it's going to be this 37 or unless there's a defensive score,
right, which are good. Short field.
Yeah, stuff like that makes things a little different. But that would be out of character for Clemson to allow that. Actually, I think that why I'm concerned about a quick start actually is about the defense, because the more you can make Clemson one-dimensional, the better off you are. If you make them throw and you know they're going to throw, whether or not you're stopping the run or not, I think that puts more pressure on Cade Klubnik to get a possible turnover. Texas defense is really good if they can make you one-dimensional either way. If they can make you just run or just throw.
Yeah.
Texas is really good defense. And so the quick start kind of leads into that, what Sark likes to call complementary football. And Texas gets up by 2 scores, and all of a sudden Clemson feels like they have to throw a lot. That could lead to a 20-10 type game for me, or a 23-10. You see what I'm saying? But I have a hard time saying Texas is going to score more than 24 in this game. I just do. I mean, until they prove me otherwise, until they have an answer in the red zone, that's a real answer that's sustainable, I think it's going to be hit or miss.
Let's take a look at this super chat here from Parth Brooks, and this kind of goes back to what you were asking about a minute ago. Jerry, he says, beautiful day in Austin, Texas, boys and girls. See y'all Saturday, and thanks for all y'all do. And Jerry, you wanted to know the weather. It is indeed going to be a beautiful day. According to AccuWeather, it says a nice afternoon for the playoff game, around 61 at kickoff. Man,
that's perfect football weather.
Yeah, really is. Great, great for the fans in the stands. I'll say that.
Yeah. Chamber of Commerce Day.
Yes. I bet much better than the other games in the college football.
By about 30 to 40 degrees, by the way.
If you can find that, Blake, any schedule that shows the temperature for those games, I think they're dropping right now, right?
Weather.com has a great app that always has all the football weather. And what's hilarious, if you look on it for the NFL, half the games are in the freezing territory, but they're all indoors in domes. Yeah. And so what does the weather even matter, right? Other than getting there.
Hey, by the way, we talked about this earlier, Mike G. This ain't Dabo's first rodeo. That's the one advantage Clemson has is he's been there, done that. He's got teams up before. And was Clemson ever really the favorite when they won it? It was good. They may have been better, but were they ever really the favorite over Nick Saban in those situations? But he's brought that program up, and he has been in a lot of big games. He's been in multiple playoff games, and he's got it done. So that's one thing earlier I mentioned that we hadn't talked about because we've been talking about the player and team matchups. That's the one thing Clemson has is Dabo has done this before, and he's done it from a position where people probably didn't think he was going to win. Not like this. He was extremely talented, but he has a message that's worked before.
Hey, there you go. That's early conditions at Beaver Stadium.
Oh my
God. In State College.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm going to run it down for you. Friday in South Bend, they're going to have morning snow showers with a high of 33, a low of 21 with 14-mile-an-hour winds. And then at Penn State at 11 a.m. On Saturday, partly cloudy, a high of 27, low of 11 with 13-mile-an-hour winds. And of course, you see the picture there. Man. We've already talked about Texas. And then Tennessee at Ohio State, which will be at 7 p.m., partly cloudy, a high of 30 with a low of 18, 9-mile-an-hour winds. So a little chilly everywhere except Texas.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we are here at Duck Camp, and so I'm sure they have some gear that could get us nice and warm, but I'd prefer not to see 11 degrees. Got to be honest. That's
a little rough for sure.
Hey, Blake, we need to go. Somebody's asking Drew Lockhart here. Adam Lowy gave away some playoff tickets. Can you look that up? Because I was trying to look that up. Yesterday, we mentioned Adam's one of our sponsors over at the Lowy Law Firm, and he gave away 10. He was going to give away 10 tickets. We promoted that for him. Does he have that list out there?
Yes. And actually, Bobby, he ended up giving away 16 tickets due to popular demand.
Wow.
So he went up a little bit. There's your winners by Twitter handle. Obviously, Frioli93 that's in our chat said he's the winner. You see him down at the bottom there. But if your name is on that list, Anna D says Texas Shamrock, Mason Flint, Bevo Baker, Carlos, Carry On, Green 8, Brandon, and Z from the T, who I think also watches Coffee and Football. And then Frioli, congratulations to all of you, and a big shout out to Adam Lowy for sending 16 people to the game on Saturday.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Look, we talked about the attendance. It's a sellout.
It is a sellout.
There was a little concern about that. I mean, if you're an Austin football fan and your son or daughter goes to Westlake or Vandegrift, you're likely going to be forced to be in Dallas this weekend instead of in Austin.
Yeah.
I would pawn that off on my significant other, that duty at that point. But I don't think everybody has that opportunity, especially not if my kid were playing. That's a different story.
Now, all the Westlake and Vandegrift people are mad at Sark. You should have won the SEC championship, and we wouldn't be in this position. Golly, we needed to buy, man. That's the fan bases that needed to buy right there.
I love it. But it'll be fun. If you're coming into town, make sure you get in early, have a little fun, and sit back and enjoy this, because we'll be here again tomorrow morning at Duck Camp from around 8 o'clock till around 10:30. Come hang out. There's also going to be some we'll have donuts again, whatnot. Then we're also over at the Co-op, our normal place on Friday afternoons, Jerry.
Yeah.
From 3 to 4, we'll be there.
Also around, not because we're doing it, just so happens to be when it was scheduled. There's also a women's basketball meet and greet. So you can come over, watch our show, women's basketball meet and greets, I think from 3 to 5 at Co-op, the same time we're doing show. So come out and say hello to Rory Harmon and Shay Hawley and all the top 5, 10 ranked teams of Texas women's basketball team.
They were really impressive on Tuesday night, by the way. Yeah. They're gonna be a team to be reckoned with. And I think the thing that I walked away from that knowing, Jerry, like, point guard is such a pivotal position in basketball, especially, I mean, we talk about it all the time. That's been something that Texas has kind of lacked in men's basketball, is that distributor that since TJ Ford and DJ Augustine, they really haven't had that guy where you would circle and say, that's the dude. Not only do they have Rory Harmon, they have a young lady named Bree Preston.
Yeah, she's fast.
Who's from Atlanta.
Fast.
She's a true freshman. There's no doubt he's going to have another group after Rory Harmon graduates. Yeah. So he's going He's got it. I'm just telling you, he's got a point guard that can finish around the rim too. By the way,
somebody named Jenny Burton asked, "Will Coach Vic be there?" Yes, he is scheduled. Jenny, you didn't get to the game.
Well, we got some more super chats that we need to get to. I want to thank David. He was going to help me stay afloat while you guys were gone earlier. He says, "Who's your favorite recruit in this 2025 class?"
That's for the chat.
Thinking about it. Nick Townsend is probably going to be the guy that I would pick there. But I'm curious, who's y'all's favorite?
Well, that's my guy too. And no offense, we've had all of them on the show. I think it's a number one class. There's so many tremendous players and prospects. I think there be 8, 9, 10 NFL guys probably in a class like this when it's all said and done if they get lucky health wise. But Nick Townsend's so different for me than guys I see. I mean, look, Daniel Cruz was my guy in the last class just because when I went and saw him at North Richland Hills, talked to the staff about him, did my homework on him, but then kind of had conversations with him, off the camera, not being reported. I just really liked him, the tape, what I saw in person, and talking to him, just the makeup of him. Nick Townsend is when you've been doing this a long time, nothing really surprises you. But the day I went out to Decaney and he was short snapping, long snapping on kickoff return, punt block team, not the return guy, punt block. He lined up at middle backer. He lined up at edge. He lined up at wildcat quarterback. He lined up at running back. He lined up at tight end. I'm like this guy literally did everything except kickoff team. And he's such a physical mindset, and he'll probably run 10.9 at 235 pounds. He ran 10.92 at 230 last spring. It's hard for me to not have Nick Townsend way up there on my list too, Blake, because there aren't many guys you look at and say he could be a top 50 level kid in the country. And I think he's underrated nationally. He'd be a top 50 level kid in the country at linebacker or at tight end. Yeah, I just haven't come across that many of those guys that were legitimate like that. Texas may have 2 in this class. Lance Jackson, by the way.
I think that before his injury, I would have went with Jonah Williams, and I may still go with him. But mine's Jamie French.
Yeah.
I think that people are going to – he's just so smooth and has some acceleration that separates after the catch and can do it downfield. He's got some really good body control. Your comparison of Adonai Mitchell strikes me because right now, one of the things that Sark mentioned against Georgia the first time, none of his guys were getting open. They weren't winning one-on-one matchups. Obviously, they did the second time against Georgia, but that tells me that Sark, in this age of the SEC where they're going to have longer corners, faster, more NFL-ready corners, he needs more guys that can win one-on-ones. And so I actually go with Jamie French. Not your typical one, I don't think. But I love Nick Townsend. I love Jonah Williams. I really like the bigger Coleman. I've mentioned his name several times to you. Myron Charles is a personal favorite too.
Dude, Myron Charles, skinny ankles, high calves. That's 6'4", 310. Those guys normally end up being really good.
Yeah. So I mean, but I'm going to go with Jamie French.
Yeah. I want to say this. Somebody mentioned Bo Barnes. I think Bo Barnes is a tremendous football player. Somebody mentioned Cade Phillips. Cade Phillips, I think, athletically, frame-wise, he may have as much upside as anybody in this class. The kid that's going to outplay his ranking for me is Caleb Chester.
We talked about him. Yeah.
Caleb, he may have the highest football intelligence in this class, and that's saying something in this class. What you've liked, Texas fans have liked from the Texas secondary, the way they play this year, I think there's some similarities in Caleb Chester there. I think his football intelligence outweighs anything athletically with him, anything frame-wise with him, from having the perfect frame. And he's not small. I mean, he's 6'170". He's going to be a 6'180" guy with enough arm length. But his football intelligence is pretty much off the charts for a young guy. That's going to give him a chance to outplay his ranking, which is probably too low nationally. Bobby Patron. Jonah Williams is going to be the most interesting guy in this class, though, because he's about to try to balance something that's very difficult to do and be high level in both. and that's football and baseball. And there, you can throw a list of how many guys have actually done it and then been very high level in football, be it as a 5-star football recruit, and then do it on baseball and on the diamond and football. What he's about to attempt to do is very difficult. If he pulls it off, I mean, hat tip to him. I saw him last week, his clavicle, he had a hairline fracture. He's doing great. He's excited to be in Austin. He's still planning to play baseball, sitting on the meeting rooms with Blake Gideon this spring. But if he pulls this off, I'm going to be really impressed if he does it at a very high level. And I'm not saying he won't be good, but I'm saying if he pulls it off, he's an all-American football player level guy, which is what his upside would tell you it is. If he could pull it off, that's going to be very impressive because not many guys have truly pulled that off.
Ricky Williams, high-level football and baseball player.
Gave it up, though.
Gave it up, yeah.
Kyler Murray gave it up at the end.
Shea Morenz went that direction, actually.
Yeah.
Just trying to go back through guys.
Yeah.
There hasn't been many of late, though. In the last 10, 15 years, I can't think of anybody that really even attempted it.
Yeah, it's somebody said, did y'all see Dallas Wilson ask for his release from Oregon? Yep. That's I mean, it's funny that happened because the talk was once you sign since there's no longer a national letter of intent, once you sign your 8 agreements, NIL deals, recruiting is supposed to stop. But that's clearly not happening. And Dallas Wilson didn't wake up in Tampa 2 days ago and say, hey, I don't think I want to do that anymore.
Before we get to our next super chats, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Tile.
Yeah, absolutely. The holidays are here. It's Christmas time and nearly time to stuff those stockings. Actually, it is time. You can do just that with Tile. While it's the most wonderful time of the year, it also presents a ton of challenges, whether you're staying at home or traveling like I am right now. It's busy season, and keeping track of what matters most to you this season can feel more hectic than merry. So stress less this holiday season by stocking up on Life 360's Tile trackers. When you're worried about your family's safety or something goes missing, just use the Tile app. The good news is that with Tile, I don't have to worry. I just ring my Tile when something goes missing, keys, wallet, what have you, and I can track down their location on the map or by sound. You can also add your Tile trackers to your Life 360 app and see your family and all your family stuff in just one spot. Family proof your family with Life 360's Tile trackers. Visit tile.com today and use code ONTexas to get 15% off. That's tile.com code ONTexas, tile.com code ONTexas. Jerry puts a tile on his Manscaped.
Yeah.
Apparatus, by the way.
Yeah, it's been left.
I'm just telling you. That's what his son told me.
Yeah. It's been left in hotel rooms before, and I had to turn around and drive 90 because you can't leave the handyman anywhere. By the way, I want to add a question for the chat. Outside of Quinn, who's the most important player for Texas Saturday?
Woo! CJ had a good one.
Who did CJ see? Gunnar Helm?
Yes. He felt like, and I think that's a good one because if you think about it, Jerry, who wasn't involved in Georgia?
Yeah,
it was Gunnar Helm. 1 catch, 11 yards.
Yeah,
and he's been such a mainstay for Quinn all year. I somewhat wonder if Georgia tried to take him away. I didn't get to see the all 22 film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did they do to try to take Gunnar Helm away?
Yeah.
Maybe their outside pass rush took him away. They're so good at edge that they had to keep the tight end in to block unless it was a screen. I mean, the only pass completed to Gunnar Helm was a screen.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the one that I thought CJ had a good answer there.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Some people are going Bert Auburn. Playoff game.
Please kick it straight.
Playoff game kicker. Stay off the right hash. I'm going to say, it's a crazy one. I said offensive line in that discussion we had, but I asked for a singular player. I think it's Trey Wisner.
Outside of yours, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Trey Wisner cracks 100 yards in this game, which I think he probably might do, I'll go ahead and predict it. I think he's going to go over 100 yards against Clemson. I think that's a great sign for Texas scoring 30 points in this game. A great sign.
30.
Man.
Man, I just tell y'all. I mean, that's the problem.
By the way, the one thing I want to say too, we were talking about this on live stream last night. The one thing I hope Texas stays away from in this game, tight end in motion, and he ends up one-on-one with the backside edge rusher. The backside edge rusher, if that's TJ Parker, is a bad matchup.
Are you talking about in pass protection?
Yeah, with how Nelson Caesar blew up Quinn, blew up JT Sanders, hurt Quinn against Houston.
Yep. Yeah.
And we've seen that a few times in recent years. That's one matchup I hope Texas does not motion into in this game, with Gaskin Gunnerhelm to block a TJ Parker one-on-one on Quinn's backside. I think that there's some things, games within the game that I hope don't. That's the one thing I hope I don't see Saturday, because I'm not sure that goes well. And that's nothing against Gunnerhelm. It's just that hasn't gone well for Texas in general.
Not with plus pass rushers.
Right.
Yeah.
Not with the NFL guys.
So my offensive guy, I think it is Helm. My defensive guy would actually be Trey Moore.
Yeah.
If he has a big game, I think he's going to be one of the guys. I think the key to the Texas defense, right, is to stop the run. And then part of the way you do that is you contain Klubnik properly. All right. So that means Barron Sorrell, Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke.
Yeah.
And then Vernon Broughton and Jermaine Lole and Alfred Collins don't get out of their rush lanes. Trey Moore forcing 3 fumbles in the last 5 games, is it? That's pretty strong, Jerry.
Yeah.
And so I would have to say that that's my piece more than anything, is that Trey Moore would be the guy that I think is going to have to play up to snuff a little bit, because he's got a tall task. I mean, corralling Kate Klubnik is faster than you think.
Yeah.
I want to put that out there. Like, the first time Texas goes out there, I almost guarantee, whether it's Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Trey Moore, or Barron Sorrell, Cade Klubnik's going to get outside of him on the first time.
Yeah.
Because they're going to realize just how much faster he is than probably what they're going up against in practice, right?
Maybe Gunnar Stockton, in a weird way, prepared him for that 2 weeks ago.
Yes, but my point is, remember how Diego Pavia on the first –
Oh, yeah.
He got outside on the very first time and then never did it again all day?
Yeah.
That's what I expect to happen. And they're going to get shocked a little bit by how fast Klubnik is at the outset. And then but I believe him, and I also believe Andrew Makuba. That would be my other one. He's the one that's seen Cade Klubnik for 2 years in practice, knows his proclivities, knows what he does, and he's had such a wonderful year at Texas. I mean, look, he is a poster child for college football transfers, in my opinion. Andrew Makuba is.
By the way, a good comment on Klubnik, 200-meter guy. He's a longer strider, so he's a little different than some of these dual threat quarterbacks where they're really good in the phone booth. Klubnik's more of that long strider guy.
He can get out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. He gets to the sideline or jets up the middle. You can't leave your rush lanes.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined.
All right, guys, I'm going to read you this, and I got to step out for 1 second. Mark, thank you for the super chat. He says, I have to super chat this because I can't say it enough. Tyler Atkinson is a must-get 2026 after seeing him in the state championship game last night.
Oh, yeah. Look, he is – and I don't want to put this on a kid because you never know how it's going to work out. He may play as fast with his size as anybody I've seen since Derek Johnson out of high school. I've seen a lot of guys, and I don't want to put it on him. I'm not saying he's going to be a gold jacket player, but in person, he has that. And I'm not even saying he run 10.5. Derek was special. But Atkinson can really run and close ground for a kid that's 210 pounds right now, 215, 210, 215, whatever he is. Tyler Atkinson, legit. I don't call many juniors in high school 5-star guys. I think he's legitimately a 5-star prospect in that class. He is really, really talented.
Grayson beat Carrollton last night.
38-24.
So Grayson has
Nick Brooks,
Atkinson,
and Bach too.
that went to Florida.
And Anthony Davis, another junior linebacker that Texas likes. He was at the He was at the Kentucky game.
And that was last night in Georgia.
And they beat Carrollton.
And who has Zealous Hicks?
And Juju Lewis. Yeah.
Okay. So
and a few other guys. They're very talented.
Yeah.
So the Carrollton, highest paid coach in high school football. I think he makes $225, $250 a year. So Grayson coach will be raising his hand saying, hey, let's have a discussion over here. Higher ups at Grayson High. I just beat the highest paid coach in America. So, but look, my son who's over here chilling, he went on the road trip to Georgia with me, and the first place we stopped was Grayson High to watch a practice. And I said, dude, you've hit peak for this year. You won't see a more talented team than Grayson. I said, unless we went to Duncanville this season. Grayson they should have 5 or 6 future NFL players off that team. And I think Nick Brooks can be one of those guys. If you haven't watched Nick Brooks senior tape, Nick Brooks senior tapes I thought the benefit of the move for him. Every day in practice going up against the Mbaktus, they have a young edge kid who has a chance to be a really good player. Nick Brooks his body's gonna change quickly at Texas, but he's moving quicker. He's reacting quicker with more physicality this year, late in his second half of his senior tape than first half of his senior tape, because he's played his way into better shape at Grayson. He's played against those Power 4 guys every day in practice, and then playing the schedule they have. They brought something out of Nick Brooks that has me excited for his future at Texas. I'll say that.
That's good. That's good. I also saw some highlights of Emery Winston last night on Twitter. He caught a couple passes in a playoff game there in Georgia as well. Don't forget about him. He's of all the players in that recruiting class, is he the most forgotten in that recruiting? You mentioned Caleb Chester.
Yeah.
He's I don't mean this in that way, but he's not the highest profile guy. So you always bring that. Emery Winston, the other tight end in this class. But Texas went on him early, Jerry. Yeah. They liked him as a receiver, right?
Yeah. I mean, he could be, if he answers the call. I'm not saying he can. It's just, I think all these guys have to do it, Bobby. If he answers the bell physically in the box in the SEC level, he could be very similar to Juan Davis with more after the catch ability to me. Very similar frame guys. But that's the whole deal. And that's why I'm so high on Nick Townsend. Like, he's so physical. He's so rare physicality at the high school level on both sides of the ball. And Emery Winston, any of these tight ends that go to the next level, especially go to the SEC, they have to answer the bell physically. I mean, it's a different game blocking on the line, around the line of scrimmage, in motion if you're a puller in the SEC and at the blue blood Power 4 level. So if he answers that, and I'm not saying immediately, takes these guys time, when he answers that, he has a chance to be a quality player.
Rob Enfield said, Bobby, when you spoke to Laura Baker, was it about an impending move to Austin? Inquiring minds want to know. More on that later. We'll put it that way. But I did speak to Laura about some stuff as well. So we'll talk about that. This one from Zane Petty. Will Flat Creek have their spot at the game? That's my understanding. They'll be out there right across from the Julius Whittier Hall of Fame entrance statue. Go on out there, see Eva, Sean, as well as Neil Golden. Those folks, they should have their spot there, I believe, as well. Some other things to ask here. This one from Joshua Diebel. Is Ethan Burke definitely coming back? He's not going pro, and I am told that he's not transferring. So that would be a yes. As far as I know at this point, obviously things can change, but that's what I've been told a couple of different ways as well. Carlos Sanchez has this super chat. Will Georgia's off-field issues cost them long-term? It already is a little bit of a receiver, man.
I think it's why they are who they are this year. I mean, look, I think they, in my mind, were the prohibitive favorite going into this year without Ra Thomas getting kicked off, without the issues Colby Young had. I mean, it's taken a toll on them a little bit. There's no doubt they lost 2 of their top, what would have been 3 or 4 receivers, and their best receiver in Ra Thomas. So I think it's already affected them. I think they didn't have all the pieces they wanted to have going into the year, and it's self-inflicted. But I do think it's hurt them this year, yes. Now, will it hurt them in the playoffs? I mean, Colby Young's I guess he's practicing with the team again. And he was going to be their best red zone guy. He was their back shoulder guy on this team. So could he make a couple plays in a playoff game for them? Absolutely. But I do think it affected them early and during the season. They just had too much. There was too much going on there for it not to. I mean, it was every week you saw something happening, and maybe we made it a bigger deal than it actually was, but it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. But the two of your top 3 or 4 receivers being removed is obviously going to affect you.
This one from Rapid Calm, Jerry. Will KJ Edwards be playing for Carthage tomorrow? Has he been injured?
If he's injured, I don't know that guy.
Okay. Is there still interest from Texas?
Texas is taking a look. Yeah, Texas. KJ Edwards is a guy that Texas likes. They've taken a look at him. I think the big thing there is going to be for the SEC teams or the Blue Bloods. When you're Texas, your Georgias, those schools come in. Even A&M, the way they look at him, where do they see his frame in the SEC? Because he is not as big a guy. Now, Amari Daniels, I think, coming out of Miami Central was 175, 180, right? And he's bulked up to 200, 205 pounds.
That's the A&M
running back, right? I was thinking of somebody with a similar frame that Texas fans had seen this year that was totally different coming out of high school. So that's the way talent-wise, he's absolutely that level player to me. He has acceleration, quickness, vision, all of it. Well coached by Scott Surratt and that staff at Carthage. He understands pass pro. Those kids are not green in that regard because of how good a job Scott Surratt does coaching and developing kids in high school. But I think it's gonna come down to where do those guys see his frame? Because talent-wise, yes, the answer is yes.
All right, we're here live from the Duck Camp retail headquarters in Austin, Texas, down off East Cesar Chavez Street. Come down and join us if you want to. They open up around 10 if you're looking for last-minute Christmas gifts. Make sure you hang out. We're going to try to get to some questions here, Jerry.
Yeah.
Kind of go rapid fire because
good.
there are some really easy ones we can get to here. Marco Mendez wants to know if playoff games count towards a freshman keeping or losing his red shirt. They do not.
They do not.
So, if they played in 4 games, they can play for the rest of the year. They could actually, theoretically, with Texas, play in 4 more games and have played 8 games and still maintain their red shirt. Zane Petty says, Texas is 2-8 in the last 10 possessions in the red zone. That will get you beat in the playoffs. There is no doubt about that. And that is one of the priorities in this game, whether it's cashing in on touchdown opportunities or not giving up cheap field goal points too. I mean, both of those things have been issues for the Longhorns.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's kind of where that was my takeaway. Look, my takeaway from the Georgia game was, people say, oh, you're being harsh on Quinn. I didn't mean to be harsh on Quinn. I was just talking about what I saw and what I observed. And look, if you go 2 of 10 for 5 yards with a dropped interception in the red zone, let's say you get past Clemson. Let's say you get past Arizona State and you play against Oregon. You aren't winning that game if you do that. I mean, so it comes a point in time, and I don't know if it's Clemson. It better not be. It shouldn't be Arizona State if you get there. But after that, you're going to have to deliver in those situations. And when the chips are – it doesn't matter. Like, it's just the way quarterbacks are judged, fair or not. Same way with a point guard in basketball, fair or not. No matter if you made a great pass earlier and somebody dropped it, somebody missed a layup when you made a great pass in transition, something like that. All this goes out the window. At the end of a game, in the last minute of a game or the last drive of a game where you got to have it to win, that's how these guys are defined. And there's going to come a point in time if Texas moves on through these playoffs where it's one possession, it's one drive, and here you are in the red zone, and you have to go make a play because your offensive line may be getting beat up a little bit. Maybe your running backs hobbled on an ankle. Something going on there. Maybe they got your tight end smothered and covered. Something's going on there where you have to make the play in the red zone. You have to find a way to make the throw, make the play. That's the way these guys are defined. And Texas as a team is going to have to deliver. And the quarterback's going to get the blame or to get praise. That's just the way it goes.
Love this comment from Jason Washington that's coming up next. I believe our O-line will take the rest of the season personal. They know after going against the Georgia front and not winning the Joe Moore Award, they will perform. Is that the one unit, like one positional unit on this team
Yes.
that can maybe take Texas to that next
Yes.
group personally?
Yeah. And look, again, this is kind of where Georgia's the one team that's given Texas the issue.
No doubt.
Can anybody else do that to the Texas offensive line? Truly, because you got to remember, A&M has 3 guys they're going to be drafted in the first 3 rounds on the defensive front, and probably had 4 or 5 guys that'll be drafted overall. And Texas ran the ball down their throat in Kyle Field. Okay,
they had Torian York at linebacker, just
right,
too small.
Right. So who else can do that to Texas is the question. I think Clemson's front has really good players. Peter Woods is hard to move. Jake Majors, the guards, have their work cut out for them with Peter Woods and with Peyton Page, and how much K Park can give Clemson. Those are 3 really good players on the interior. As a whole, their defensive front's good. It'll probably be a top 3-4 defensive front Texas has played this year. They're going to challenge the Texas offensive line. Georgia's had the linebackers. They have the entire front 7 to really give Texas issues. I don't see another team that level. That doesn't mean people can't give Texas issues, but I think it would be more self-inflicted on Texas outside of Georgia. That's my opinion. I think the Texas offensive line is going to be better than everybody they go up against in the playoffs.
Let's go to this one because I think we've gone an hour and a half into this and have not broached this subject. And we just talked about red zone from Phil McIntosh. Will we see Arch at all? Haven't seen him throw a ball since October.
I'm of the opinion.
Since October, though. That is a big statement there.
I'm of the opinion you're going to see it. And if we think about the red zone looks that Sark's provided with Arch against A&M in the run against Georgia, where's the run been? Left. Well, what is the pass play he calls for Arch every time he comes into the game?
Well, it's been the flood right.
It's the flood right. And he has it layered. He's got 3 options to read, right? It's coming, guys. I'll be shocked if we don't see it.
Well, we'll see if Clemson's ready for it.
It's been set up.
Comment earlier by me that talks about Texas problems just scoring points, period, and lack of it. Champ Bailey 3 says, Bobby, I agree. Red zone has been an issue the last 4 games, but if Texas doesn't turn the ball over, Texas probably scored 30 in every game if they just put it in the end zone. No turnovers in the red zone. Here's the point to that, though, Champ. Ifs, ands, and buts, or candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, right? The problem is that is part of who Texas is at this point. And sometimes you just believe them. If they keep doing it over and over, you just believe that's who they are. If Texas were to play a clean game, of course they score 30-plus points.
Yeah.
It's a big if. They haven't done it. Not historically. Not against it. So I'm not trying to bag on anybody or saying if Texas scores more than 24, I'll be surprised. You know, that doesn't mean I'm wrong or that I'm right or something like this automatically either. But they can't turn the ball over like they have. They have to execute better in the red zone. Then I would believe you. You know, that's where I'm at. Welcome back in, Blake Monroe. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Sorry about that, guys. I had to take care of something real quick, but I'm ready to rock and roll once again if y'all are. And Landry Millsaps, thank you for your super chat. Why do you think Sark continues to call 3rd down plays that result in Burt being set up on the right hash if we don't convert in his struggles? Good question.
Hard to. It's tough as a play caller to call everything to one side of the field unless that's your offense. You know, Josh Heupel, Art Briles' offense. Sometimes that is your scheme, but it's tough as a play caller sometimes. I mean, I think look at the end of that game to tie that game, Sark did that. I think that was pretty clear, Bobby. He was trying to keep the ball off the right hash to get the game into overtime.
If you have to do that for your kicker, you know your kicker is struggling.
Yeah.
Sark's not unaware. So it's hard to call plays that way, Landry. It's just hard to call plays. You know, you want to use the whole field, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it difficult for you.
Tough. By the way, David Parcell, when did we get a prediction? I'm at 34-20. I got Texas 34-20. And I'm not saying Clemson's going to score 20 offensive points necessarily. What if they get a short field, turnover, the old pick six, fumble, something like that. I'm not saying Clemson's going to sit there and have 20 offensive points legitimate without a short field or something. I'm going 34-20.
I'm at like 2017 or 2014 at this point. I just am. I mean, I will say there's one other aspect. We mentioned Texas's special teams problems or issues. Yeah. There's one thing that I want to bring up that may rear its head in this game. Clemson's had some picks blocked, PATs blocked this year. Let's see if Texas gets home on one of those. Yeah. And kind of like a intangible factor that's out there that many people aren't thinking about. They've had some issues there. So while their kicker is coming off doing something that has to have him on cloud nine, kicking a 56-yard field goal to win the ACC championship as time ran off the clock, I think you wonder a little bit about some of the other aspects of that kicking game for them. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay, our next one here comes from Parth Brooks. And Parth says, and thank you for the super chat, seemed like Isaiah Bond quit on a couple of plays in the SEC title game. Do we think that was because of the ankle or something bigger?
Boy, that's a loaded question. I mean, is he giving it 100%? I think he is. I don't know that he quit. I think that, like, I went back and watched that. The one that was obvious to me, at least I'm sure was to you, the interception from Quinn. Bond looked like he just didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And I think the ball got behind him. There are parts of me that wonder where his head was at in that scenario. And there are other parts for me saying he thought the ball he just didn't know where it's like a catcher, right? Like a Major League Baseball catcher going, where's the ball? And not knowing. So he can't really react.
Right.
And so he looks slow reacting and he's just
right.
unaware. But there was a go route that it looked like he kind of pulled up on a little bit unnecessarily too quickly. He hasn't been the deep threat. Nobody has, by the way. The deep threat that Texas had hoped at some level. Is that on him and his route running and giving up on things? Or is it teams prepping for that because they're scared of it a little bit? Or is it Quinn's inaccuracy deep? And lack of feel for the deep ball. Maybe all three. And those three things build on each other to create a situation where maybe the player doesn't look like he's 100 all the time. I also think that, it's hard. Jerry and I've talked about this. He's a 4.3 guy with a bum ankle. He's 4.5.
Yeah.
So what does that do for him?
Yeah.
That makes him not as threatening downfield. So all of those things can combine.
By the way, there was a question earlier in the chat, and I wanted to respond to it because it's somebody asked about Malik Murphy in Oregon State. Some of the portals, be careful what you wish for. The grass is not always greener.
Yeah.
I mean, and that, that if he ends up at Oregon State,
look, I know Duke had a good team this year. Led Duke to 9 wins this year. And they went out and still went and got the Tulane quarterback. Good luck. I wish Malik nothing but the best, man.
Yeah, it's just the portal is a lot of guys go in thinking it's going to be one way and it turns out another, and it looks like that's going to be one of those cases for him because I don't think when he jumped in the portal he was thinking he might end up at Oregon State.
We got some Amari Winston videos that he tweeted out from his games. But first, before we get to those, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Rick Vavro and Austin Underground one last time.
Yeah, absolutely. Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations since 2004. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. Rick and his team, Rick Vavro, offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work every time. That's Austin Underground. thank you for being our year-long sponsor on Thursday's Coffee and Football. We appreciate you guys very much. We also appreciate our friends over here at Duck Camp today, hanging out with them here early in the store, waiting for them to open here in about another 10 minutes or so. Get your last-minute Christmas gifts over at Duck Camp or go online, duckcamp.com.
You know what's great about their clothing? It makes you look like you're strong. I'm not really strong. On this camera, I'm looking like, man, dude, this guy's like in shape. No, that's not the case. This is the stuff you want to buy. Just telling you. Blake's like, dang, Jerry's been working out. Nah, not really. The opposite. That's when you know somebody makes a good product.
You're layering now is what you're doing. You're layering.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys, I'm going to bring up these videos here. Playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the state championship. And here is him warming up a little bit. Jerry, while I play these, I'll let you talk about Winston a little.
He's missing UT tattoo or something like that. So, we got to talk to him about that. But, that's Winston. And all those games, obviously, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they do a great job, just like Texas. Georgia football has copied Texas in many ways, and great facilities, great coaching. They pay those guys. But here's Winston. By the way, I've been to a Friday night game there, and I can never remember the safety on the other team from Chattanooga. Golly. But he was really good playing the league. I can never remember, but I went to a game there. Calhoun is one of my favorite places to go to a Friday night high school game in America, by the way. Emory's had a great high school experience, and congrats to them on winning state. Obviously, Grayson beat Carrollton last night as well.
Good-looking player overall, in my opinion. More of a receiver threat than maybe you thought coming into this.
I like that he's still played basketball. Right, he's maintained basketball. I was having a discussion with somebody who played college quarterback Tuesday night, and there's a young quarterback that he knows. It's the parents are thinking, maybe he'll just play football, and we're like, golly, no, dudes, keep playing basketball. Like, basketball is great for footwork, and Emory's got really good feet, and he's continued on with basketball. I think that's been smart for him. Again, let's go West. Von Bell, Tennessee Longhorn. Thank you. I could never remember Von Bell. I went to Calhoun, and the high school he was at in Chattanooga was playing at Calhoun. Von Bell was a 5-star ranked guy, and I was in the national rankings at the time. And I went to see Vaughn in high school to make sure that we were pretty accurate as could be on that. And that was a great, fun atmosphere at Calhoun High.
Let's take a couple more questions before we get out of here. This one from T-Town Horn. He says, I feel we have to score points this game. Our D is facing the best quarterback we have seen all season, and he's coming home. Can't wait to watch this game.
What I'm interested with this game is two opponents in the ACC that Clemson did not have 400 yards against were Pittsburgh and SMU 2 weeks ago. Pittsburgh, Moffa had 17 carries for 17 yards. And Pittsburgh, I think I said Penn State. Pittsburgh roughed up Clemson's offensive line. Like, they were playing on Clemson's side of the line of scrimmage in that game. Now, they got after him with an extra hat in the box a lot of times, but Narduzzi, really good defensive coordinator. But in that game, it was a 24-20 game, but Clemson couldn't run the football. SMU, they had 326 yards against SMU, and Moffa had 13 for 28 in that game. So he's had 30 for 45 rushing Clemson with their back in those two games where they didn't produce 400 yards. If Texas puts it all on Klubnik, that puts a lot of pressure on Klubnik to go win the football game. But with that being said, I think Texas is going to score. I think they're going to score points in this game. I think Clemson's got good frontline players, Bobby, but I may be wrong. I may sit up here and eat a lot of crow from Clemson fans coming up, but I think depth is an issue. And I think Clemson, as talented as they are, does not really stop the run.
Hope so.
I mean,
I just say all I can say to that is I hope that's the case, because if Clemson can't stop the run and they can't run the football, Texas is going to win the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the score will be, but it'll be good enough.
Patrick Page asks, what are the other Clemson running backs since Moffa has one arm? Problem is Jay Haynes, their number 2 guy, tore his ACL last week or two against whatever that was, the SMU ACC championship game on a kickoff return. They may have to go young, even behind Haynes for their number 2 back. And it was crazy listening to Dabo's press conference. He's like, oh yeah, he's having shoulder surgery after the year on Moffitt. He's pretty much saying this guy has one arm. He's just gutting through it on one shoulder. That's why it'll be interesting. If you're attacked Texas, you try to attack him in pass pro. You try to bring everybody thinks, well, you bring physicality to him and tackle him to the ground and see how his shoulder reacts. You also can do it in pass pro, Bobby, because he has to give up his body in this game. It's win or go home. So Anthony Hill and him, if they collide, that may be the end of Moffa's day on some level.
Well, because of that, I think Clemson's going to try to use the short passing game. It is a Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley type of offense, so they'll try to deploy the short, quick passing game so that they don't have to hold up in pass pro, frankly.
Yeah.
And see if they can have any success. And if they can't, that, again, plays into Texas's hand on defense.
By the way, Brendan Bauer talked a great comment there. You obviously are in the know.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Rick Vavro and Austin Underground. I want to thank them, and a big thank you to Duck Camp for hosting you guys today out there. Really appreciate that. And we also need to thank Factor, Manscaped, Future Fans, and Tile All for sponsoring today's show. Thanks for tuning in. The great questions, the super chats. Bobby, what you got later?
We've got several things. Steve Sarkisian is at 11. That's a press conference coming up. CJ, Bob Shipley got some stuff coming up later today. We got the winning drive from 3 to 4 as well. A lot of stuff, Jerry. You got something for tonight.
Yeah.
Also, check in on TexasFootball.com because there could be news breaking a little bit today around Eric Singleton, the wide receiver out of Georgia Tech, that as we went on air this morning, we're still debating between Auburn and Texas. I know some people that I respect put in some predictions or prognostications for Singleton to go to Auburn, where he has a former coach on that staff now from his high school, also some friends on that. But my understanding is Texas is still involved in that as of late yesterday.
Yeah. And Zachariah Branch, John Branch on the table for Texas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know the level of interest there, but we can say there is some interest, at least for sure right now.
And be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live, post content. Between that and on TexasFootball.com, you won't miss a beat of Longhorn news. And we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then. Have a great day.
Welcome, guys. Have a good